Good day, and thank you for your interest in the Caneel Bay Redevelopment and Virgin Islands National Park. My name is Paul Jones, and I work in the Commercial Services Office of the Virgin Islands National Park. Feedback from the public's involvement is vital for national park managers to make good decisions. We appreciate the public's involvement, which has helped to inform the Caneel Bay Redevelopment Project. Today, I will be discussing the decisions document for the Caneel Bay Redevelopment environmental assessment, the finding of no significant impact or FANZI, and the environmental investigation and cleanup at Caneel. This slide shows the Caneel Peninsula, which is located on the northwest corner of St. John. On September 30th, 2023, the retained use estate, or RU, will expire. The RU is a large portion of the project area. The National Park Service performed an environmental assessment to inform the decision on whether to redevelop Caneel Bay for overnight lodging and other uses. Paramount to this decision was how to integrate the value and history of the community of St. John and how to protect and preserve significant cultural and natural resources while providing a range of visitor experiences, including day use and overnight accommodations. Because the RU expires on September 30th, 2023, NPS needs to make decisions regarding future redevelopment and management of the Caneel Peninsula, while also addressing ongoing cultural and natural resource impacts associated with the 2017 Hurricanes Irma and Maria. The Caneel Bay Peninsula has a rich history. We have found artifacts such as pottery, pictured here, from the Taino people. Caneel Bay was used as a sugar plantation and played an important role in the 1733 revolt. Pictured here in the center, you see a knife used to harvest sugarcane. Most recently, Caneel Bay housed a popular resort from the Rockefeller era. In this 1970s era photo on the bottom left-hand corner, you can see visitors strolling around the ruins of the plantation. Hurricanes Irma and Maria in 2017 damaged the resort, and it has not been used for overnight accommodations since. The selected alternative was shaped by public involvement. The National Park Service began civic engagement on this plan in April 2021 with community engagement opportunities, including virtual sessions, outdoor office hours, and radio interviews, among others. Many correspondence were received and reviewed during the civic engagement period, with many of the ideas suggested becoming part of the selected alternative, such as increased public access for the beaches. The environmental assessment and all other public documents for this project can be found at the web address on this screen. During the formal public comment period, the National Park Service hosted 3 in-person public meetings and 1 virtual public meeting, as well as 16 additional stakeholder and community engagement opportunities, including meetings, media interviews, etc. Many more correspondence were received and reviewed during this time. In all, since 2021, the NPS has received over 3,000 correspondence regarding the Caneel Bay redevelopment. The selected alternative will re-establish an overnight experience that considers the Caneel Bay Resort legacy. The NPS will balance this redevelopment with factors that we heard from the public that were important: public access, recreational opportunities, and resource protection. So there will be a loading zone shown in the map in purple, but also a day use zone shown in the map in bright blue, a conservation zone shown in green, and an interpretive engagement zone shown in orange. For example, the interpretive engagement zone is for future community space and partnership opportunities. The 2017 hurricanes caused many impacts to the structures. Because some of the structures are historic and some of the structures are within regulatory floodplains, the National Park Service would consult with the appropriate regulatory agencies prior to making a decision about site-specific redevelopment. This redevelopment is anticipated to support the St. John and U.S. Virgin Islands economy. The selective alternative and redevelopment will also increase opportunities for the public and resort guests to experience the area. The decision document for the environmental assessment is called a finding of no significant impact. The NPS consulted with other agencies prior to determining there was no significant impact. The selected alternative was determined to provide greater public access, protection for natural and cultural resources. It is also consistent with and honors the history of Caneel era and provides partnership opportunities for future community spaces. The National Park Service consulted with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services, NOAA Fisheries, and the Virgin Islands State Historic Preservation Office prior to arriving at this finding. The selected alternative in the decision document means that we will be considering two different kinds of commercial opportunities. The first is overnight accommodations. For overnight accommodations, we will issue a request for qualifications. We are currently targeting this fall to issue the RFQ. Using the offered qualifications, the National Park Service will determine which offerers are qualified to submit proposals in the subsequent request for proposal. There is no limit to the number of qualified offerers. Once qualified proposals are received, the NPS will select a proposal based on predetermined criteria. The second opportunity is for day use activities. For this, the NPS will issue a request for expressions of interest. Once those are received, the NPS will determine whether to proceed with concession prospectuses or commercial use authorizations. The NPS completed its environmental investigation of Caneel Bay under its CER/CLA authority in 2022. Under CER/CLA, the NPS can seek to recover investigation and cleanup costs from the potentially responsible parties. The NPS has and will continue to follow the requirements of CER/CLA throughout this process. In 2023, the NPS sought and obtained $1.2 million for the removal of known on-site asbestos debris. The NPS is seeking to secure millions more to remove contaminated soil at the on-site landfill and maintenance landscaping area. Thank you for your time to learn about the status of Caneel Bay redevelopment, and thank you as well for your interest in the Virgin Islands National Park.